Both the lease and the memorandum of understanding with the Ohio prison system. And I just want to briefly go through that with you, that as we had those discussions with the state eventually came to us and said, look, if you don't take this deal and do the double bunking, we're going to close the jail and move these prisoners someplace else. And so when we had our last conversation, that's pretty much where it started. What we have in the lease, the current lease allows for 850 beds at the Dayton prison facility. This would take it up to 1,000. It would be 1,000 beds where they would have the 500 what we call the 500 unit facility, which would be double bunked, and so they could take it up to 1,000. The lease says it's women only, and so it goes from 850 out there to 1,000. The other thing that talks about is the former Montgomery County Pre-Release Center would now be used by adult parole. And those offices would move from downtown and would move out there, and they would use that facility that would give them more ability to run some programs and provide some additional service. We did a memorandum of understanding with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation. And as you look at that, obviously the state has its rules in terms of how it hires, but we asked wherever possible that they give benefit to people in the surrounding neighborhoods here, and we specifically got them to agree that they would advertise and recruit Dayton area residents, and they would use the county job center. If they do that, I think we're going to have more of our people in Dayton taking those exams and have a greater probability of getting the jobs. Item number 3 was to say where they have flexibility, that they would look to do hire Dayton-based vendors, and particularly looking for minority and women-based vendors in terms of that. Item number 4 is something that the state had never done before. What we didn't want to happen is that women were released from the prison and would just be, out on the sidewalk and say, figure out where to go. There would be a transportation plan for every woman leaving the prison. There would be somebody picking them up, or they would be taking somebody to, say, a Greyhound bus station with a ticket to get them to their home community. And then there are a couple other areas. The state, is one of their budget cuts, no longer does outside efforts where the prisoners go outside and do service. But what the state officials have told us a number of times is that in the women's prisons, they tend to do inside things. They make things, crafts, and that they would do those kinds of things for the benefit of our community. And in addition to that, the Adult Parole Authority will be on our Prison Advisory Committee. There's a one-time payment if there's anything that we have to do with the transportation, with the bus stops. They put in $25,000 for that. That's not a significant item, but it's just if we need to fix up the bus stop because there might be a few more people from the Adult Parole Authority there, that we'd have that. We did go last, it was either Wednesday or Thursday, we met with the Southeast or Southwest Priority Board. I made a presentation, the same basic presentation I'm making here, and the Priority Board on a unanimous vote recommended to the City Commission that the City Commission adopt this. Mr. Ed Voorhees from the state, who's one of the people that we've worked with the whole time, is here if you do have any questions for Mr. Voorhees, or if you have any questions for me.
I have a question about this. So these points that you make, which I think are very good, specifically the transportation plan, they're in the lease themselves?
They're in the memorandum of understanding that will be signed by the city and the prison.
And how long does the MOU last?
It just goes on. I mean, it has an indefinite period.
Okay.
So it goes on. This lease goes to 2081?
The lease goes, when we originally did this, 20 years ago, it was a 99-year lease, and so there's still, I guess it must have been more years ago than that. It's a 99-year lease going through 2081, yes.
Okay. Well, I certainly have some thoughts, but I also noticed that Ms. Rickman and some others are here. I'd be curious, I don't know if they assigned to speak for the hearing to speak on these calendar items, but I kind of want to hear their comments before I go too much deeper into this topic.
I do not have anyone registered to speak on this particular, so if you want to invite them, you're welcome to do that.
Yes. Ms. Rickman, would you like to say a few words on this? Please do.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
morning.
Good morning.
City Manager, Mayor. I'm Ms. Rickman. I'm the chairperson of Southwest Priority Board, and I have participated in this MOU, the Agreement of Understanding, and our board supports this wholeheartedly. Number one being there's 300 jobs on the line. Number two, it keeps the tax base and the tax revenue into the city. And I've worked closely with this facility, and I believe that this would be a good thing for the city, plus it would be a good thing for our community. Even though we have a lot of negativity within the Southwest, but the ones that talk about the negativity and the people that's in our area, they do support our community. And I am in full agreement with the city manager on this issue. And I will be like a prison guard. I will actually monitor the facility once a month or whenever I need to be. They've invited me to go before the transfer is completed to go to Marysville and look at their facilities and see how they handle the women there. So I'm excited about going there to see that, because women are different than men. And we and we need to make sure that they have all the needs of the women when they transfer over. So I want to make sure of that, and I will be the city manager's eyes and ears to make sure they self. So
Ms. Rickman, I want to thank you for your leadership on this issue. I know it's been difficult and had lots of conversations with the community, but you've continued to be thoughtful and really work for the best interests of your neighborhood, and that's very commendable, and just want to thank you for your leadership. It's been so impressive to all of us.
Thank you. It wasn't easy, was it, Tim? It wasn't easy, but when you get a room full of 200 people, and have to manage.
We were all there.
Well, the second meeting we had about 150, and it was very quiet and cordial, and I laid out the rules of the meeting in less than 30 minutes. I don't think nobody got their seat warm. It was over. It was over less than 30 minutes. Commissioner Lovelace was there. So anything that Southwest and anything that I can do to continue to support this city, I will do, even though I get the big hit sometime. But I'm a big girl now, so I can accept that.
Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you guys hear from anybody else? Or, okay. Well, I just wanted to comment. I don't want us to underestimate the work that was done here. I mean, you look at this process. When we first heard about this issue, I was very concerned that we would be able to come up with a solution that met the needs of the community and also the needs of us trying to preserve the tax base and those jobs. And so through a lot of hard work from staff and the community, and particularly Mr. Rickman, who really, I don't think any of us can say enough about your leadership here, was just unquestioned and just as strong as one could have. I'm really proud of what we've ended up with, and I don't think it should be underestimated. To think that at one point we were talking about doubling the beds and going from 850 to 1,700, as it turns out, the bed increase, which was a big concern of some of the neighbors, is only going to go up by 150. It's going to go from 850 to 1,000. I think that's remarkable. And then you add to that we're going to go from men to women, right. And the statistics say anyway, I haven't experienced it myself, but the statistics say that the women prisoners are easier to manage, so that should be a benefit for the community. You add to that as a result of these community meetings, it brought greater attention to all of us about some of the issues in those neighborhoods of Fair Lane, Highview, Pineview. It brought some brought some issues to light even greater than any of us really knew. Since that time, we have increased our efforts in that area, and a lot of the incidents and calls have gone down since that time because we have given it greater attention, and we continue to give it greater attention, which is part of one of our ordinances today of why we are looking at some of the solicitation issues in our communities. I can't say enough about the work that was done. You add to it an unexpected benefit of the transportation process and the fact that the state and the prisons have agreed that they will work hard to employ local workers and local vendors. I'm really proud of the work that the staff and the community has done. So I just want to really say thank you very much.
Yeah, I want to ditto your remarks, Commissioner. I think you make a good point. I think certainly given, at least I'm voting yes on this because of the the unemployment rate that exists in the city as well as within this part of the city, the Southwest, that with a 9% unemployment rate, and probably within the Southwest part of Dayton, it's probably at least maybe double that. So that makes sense for us to vote against getting rid of jobs. So I'm supporting it because of the jobs, as well as anybody that's read the book by Michelle Alexander, the Jim Crow book, that we have to somehow impact on the prison industrial complex, and it doesn't make sense for us to just warehouse female offenders. And then when there's programs out there that can really help them change their life and their kids' lives. I know that Reverend Mosley mentioned at one of those meetings about children of incarcerated parents, about how they, in fact, are working with them, at least the ministry. They had a ministry that helps to change the lives of these young adults, and having these young adults being close to their parents makes a lot of sense, too, that we need to have them way out in a field somewhere where folks can't see their loved ones and stuff like that. So it just makes sense to me to support this issue.
I want to join my colleagues. They said it all, and I agree with what they've said. But specifically, I want to thank Ms. Rickman, the citizens that have worked on this, and our staff. As Commissioner Williams said, this is a monumental achievement to come as far as we have on this. It's a very difficult topic and one that people are very passionate about. I think that we've come to a compromise solution here between the words in the lease and the text of the MOU that I'm glad to see, and I want to thank all of you for your efforts.
Mr. Riordan, I think you've made the citizens, I think you've made the best out of a bad situation. Mm-hmm. To be quite honest, I'm not crazy about this. I don't feel like the city really had much of a choice, nor did the citizens did by what the state was giving ultimatums of, if you don't do what we say, we're going to close this prison. And I'm not crazy about that situation that the state put us in, and I'm not really okay with that attitude that they gave forward. However, I think that seems to be the nature of the state these days, is to give us bad situations, and we continue to make the best out of them, and I think you all have done that here today, and thank you.
I just want to add that I'm extremely impressed that you went from we could close to getting $25,000 out of them for improvements. I'm impressed with that, so that's pretty good.